It's no secret that horror movies have a way of getting under our skin. But what makes them truly unforgettable?
You know what she did? Your canting daughter?
Is it the jump scares, the creepy atmosphere, or perhaps something more sinister? The score.
Damn, this is some scary shit!
The music that accompanies the terror, the tension, and the fear. It's the soundtrack to our nightmares, and it's what makes us remember the scares long after the credits roll. Join me as we'll be counting down the top 10 horror movie scores that have made our skin crawl and our hearts race. And remember folks, it's subjective, like I could have a different opinion next week. Be sure to like and subscribe, and be sure to tell me your favorite horror movie scores down in the comments. Let's do this. Starting off the countdown at number 10, we have Child's Play. The original soundtrack for the 1988 film was composed by Joe Renzetti. The score is a mix of orchestral and choral pieces with a haunting and ominous tone that complements the film's theme of childhood terror. Some highlights here are the Good Guy theme song featuring a creepy music box-like melody played on a synthesizer with an unsettling, wavering quality.
Heidi ho, ha ha ha.
I saw this one.
I also love the end credits track featuring Chucky's theme, a haunting melody played on a solo piano, accompanied by eerie whispers and an atmospheric sound design. A perfect soundtrack for the misadventures of a serial killer-possessed doll.
Hello, Andy.
Number 9 on the countdown is Us. The score for the 2019 film was composed by Michael Abels. It features a blend of orchestral and choral sounds, with the violins being a standout for their staccato, punctuated style.
Hey! 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 Hey!
Highlights here are the track Anthem, featuring a chorus of children singing beautiful but nonsensical words, giving you the feeling that something is organizing and creeping up on you. Since we can't understand the lyrics, we can't understand the purpose or intent. Corresponds with Us's narrative of the doppelganger's rebellion and their rise to the surface. That plus the Tether remix of the classic 90s throwback I Got 5 on It.
That's a classic right there.
What does I got 5 on it mean?
It's about drugs.
It's not about drugs.
Makes this the perfect soundtrack for Jordan Peele's modern masterpiece.
It's us.
Number 8, The Terminator. And yes, I know I'm taking a real hard stance on the channel here today by saying that, but to me, I'm sorry, The Terminator, at least the first one, is in fact a horror movie. The score for the 1984 classic was composed by Brad Fiedel.
I'll be back.
Predominantly featuring synthesizers, drum machines, and sequencers to create a futuristic and mechanical sound. But most importantly is that percussive rhythm that helps to build energy and tension throughout the film. The Terminator theme is played over the opening credits and during certain scenes at varying tempos, creating a signature and identifiable sound, helping cement the Terminator as the horror sci-fi classic that we celebrate it as today. Number 7, It Follows. The soundtrack for the 2015 film was composed by Richard Vreeland, or better known by his stage name, Disaster Piece. With creepy synths that invoke 1980s horror, this score gives the film an electric heartbeat that is filled with dread. The title track sets the tone for the rest of the film, and it features a haunting melody featured throughout the soundtrack, giving these supernatural STD stalkers an iconic sound, which only enhances how freaking creepy they are, helping make it a modern horror classic. On to number 6, where we have the score to the granddaddy of the slasher genre. It's Psycho. The score for the 1960 Hitchcock classic was composed by Bernard Herrmann. Written for a small string ensemble with the instruments played with mutes and without vibrato to produce a harsh, cold sound. The most famous track, of course, being the shower theme, a shrieking string melody that accompanies the iconic murder of Marion Crane. The score's use of music to evoke a sense of menace and heightened sudden shocks has become a standard technique in horror films. You can't underestimate the cultural impact of this music, which is evident in films like Jaws, Halloween, and Scream. A score that changed the sound of horror forever going forward. Number 5. Candyman. Composed by Philip Glass, the score for the 1992 film is a masterclass in atmospheric tension and haunting beauty. A highlight being the film's main theme, featuring repetitive melodies and hypnotic rhythms, serving the audience epic operatic sounds that make you feel like you're at a cathedral of terror. A lush and foreboding sound, emulating the hold that the legend of the Candyman has on the community of Cabrini Green, a perfect soundtrack for Tony Todd's iconic villain.
Be my victim.
Number 4, and these are getting harder and harder to choose here. It's A Nightmare on Elm Street. Composer Charles Bernstein's score for the 1984 seminal horror classic perfectly captures the surreal and terrifying world of Wes Craven's Freddy Krueger. His use of synths and electronic elements was particularly innovative for the time, creating a sense of otherworldliness and unease that perfectly complements the dreams and nightmares that our characters are dealing with. And who could forget the iconic nursery rhyme theme? At this point, it's become a cultural touchstone symbolizing the franchise's blend of terror and dark humor. A must-listen for horror fans everywhere. We now enter the top 3 with 1977's Saperia. Famously composed by the group Goblin, the Italian progressive rock band was commissioned by director Dario Argento to create a score that would be an integral part of the film's narrative. The score's use of discordant notes and unsettling melodies adds to the overall sense of tension and enhances the film's themes of witchcraft and supernatural horror. A highlight here is the film's main theme, an auditory delight for any spooky bitch. Combined with Argento's beautiful imagery, it truly makes for a transportative experience. Now for number 2, Halloween 1978. John Carpenter's score for Halloween is a masterclass in simplicity and terror. Composed on a minimal budget, Carpenter created a haunting and iconic theme that has become synonymous with the horror genre. The main theme is a 5/4 time piano melody with a repetitive structure and subtle variations. It creates a sense of festive tension, with the shape's presence always being felt even when he's not seen. The Halloween theme has become one of the most famous movie themes of all time, symbolizing the horror genre at large and the film's iconic villain, Michael Myers.
Was the boogeyman?
As a matter of fact, it was.
Number 1 on the top 10 horror movie scores, and some of you still might disagree that this is a horror movie, but it's a flesh-eating animal goblin of the citizens of Amity Island. Horrifying. It's Jaws. Composed in 1975 by the legendary John Williams, the score's simplicity is its genius. With that famous 2-note theme repeated and varied throughout the film to create a sense of impending doom.
When he finally played the music for me on the piano, he previewed the main Jaws theme. I expected to hear something kind of weird and melodic, you know, and kind of tonal but eerie and of another world, almost a bit like outer space, inside, you know, inner space, under the water. And what he played me instead with two fingers on the lower keys was dun 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 dun. And at first I began to laugh. I thought he had a great sense of humor. I thought he was putting me on. And he said, no, that's the theme to Jaws. And I said, play it again. He played it again. And he played it again. And it suddenly seemed right.
The music is often sparse and minimalist, leaving room for the film's eerie silences and jump scares.
Go ahead, come on down and chump some of this shit.
Williams' use of percussion and brass instruments adds a sense of urgency and danger, making the audience ever paranoid of the shark's next attack. Along with the creepy and horrifying tracks, the score shows how well-rounded it is. The music can go from high intensity to soft and pondering, like the scene of Chief Brody and his son at the dinner table. I also love the more uplifting tracks that exemplify the dangerous adventure the three men go on to destroy the beast. For many horror fans like myself, this is not only the soundtrack to the movie Jaws, but also the soundtrack to our childhoods. Visceral, emotional, and incredibly memorable. That's why John Williams' beautiful creation is the #1 horror movie score of all time.
I used to hate the water. I can't imagine why.
Well, that's the countdown. Thank you so much for joining me. There is so much good horror music out there that I'm sure that your favorite might not have made the list. So let me know what it is down in the comments. While you're here, be sure to like and subscribe, and be sure to tune into more spooky fun on Thembo Cinema.